Sorry, I had to go pick up Shroud, my black rabbit, because he's looking at me like you haven't picked me up. So just picked him up. He's a great rabbit. So I've been trying today different ways to use this wireless microphone, and this is another try. So I'm not sure how it's gonna work. Here in front of me, I have a tea set and a little landscape thing that I'm working on. Oh, you want me to pet you, huh? Okay. So this is in aquascaping when I had aquariums called Iwagumi, which is 1 or 2 species of plants, usually a ground cover, and rock formation. And the rock is usually 1 to 3 rocks, in my opinion. People will differ on that. And what you do is you basically put them in a way that's kind of like interesting. There are discrepancies, of course, how things can be done. But this is 2 years old and finally has come to a place where it's pretty complete, you know. So I'll just move it around a little bit. You see that I allowed some clovers to exist, and you know, that's kind of how it goes. I will take it closer, but I think my rabbit is just like, come on, man, scratch my back. The tea set is a gong fu set, you know. Cha is tea, so gong fu set. It's just the way you drink tea, and the way that it was meant to be supposedly by the people that brew the tea. I mean, grew the tea and process the tea, and it's your job to brew it right. And so there are different kinds of tea coming from the same tree depending on how it's processed or who processes it. Here I have white tea and black tea, and red tea, you know, in theory, pu'er, and I think it's white peony. So this is a gai one, more traditional way of brewing, and this tea is more sensitive to ratio of water versus tea, and temperature of the water, and the time that I'm steeping it for. Oh, this is pu'er in here. For it to be actually what they meant me to drink. In comparison with wine, wine comes in a bottle ready to drink. Maybe sometimes you need to like let it breathe a little bit, but that's about it with wine. It's ready. So a lot more fruity and a lot more aromatic, you know, than pu'er. Pu'er is more like kind of like a English breakfast kind of tea. And this is more like sweet and flowery, like almost more herbal. This also is a chapet, you know, and just put tea on it, and there is a tray and a teapot and the guy one, which is this one, and the justice cup, which is basically unnecessary for one person, I guess, but I want my cups of tea to taste the same. So what it's meant to is, if you're serving up a party of a few people and you want them all to have the same experience, you pour on a justice cup, which will make it so everyone has a tea that has the same concentration. So for each steep, you know, it's like that. The other difference is that pu'er, this one I've been drinking both of them since yesterday, so they're pretty weak right now, but this one is kind of like 3/4 of the way in its journey. Now I'll explain what that means. What it is that this pu'er will start very strong and it will decline in its strength, and it will just open up like different, a little bit more subtle notes to it that weren't that present because of how powerful the body was in the beginning. And it's very interesting. It's cool, you know. Like you can, these two kinds of tea you can be drinking for a long time. The thing with this is good. The thing with the white tea is that it starts very weak, but very aromatic, like what you say, a nose, but almost no taste. And then it closely it's like indirectly proportionally indirectly it decreases a little bit more, maybe because of just your own perception, but I sense less smell and more flavor, and you can see that the color of the liquor increases and then it decreases, so it has like a journey. I'll go do it here, like a journey. It goes up and down, and while pu'er just goes, it's up and then goes down. That's kind of my experience of it, you know. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, your tea ceremony. It's not a ceremony. It's like, it's just drinking wine. And just drinking wine. Sometimes you drink more like sophisticated wine, you know. Sometimes you have like special cups for your wine and you drink it, you know. But this is the way you taste tea more. You have you do more than just put the tea in a bag and just on a cup and go. I do that with pu'er, but I don't put it in a bag. I just put it directly in a cup and drink through the day. The ceremony would be like comparing using wine in a mass, you know, or like to reenact the cannibalistic act of eating the body and the blood of Jesus. And with tea, I think the ceremony is Japanese, and it has matcha tea, and there's this whole very, you know, complex ceremony around it. I don't understand or pretend to understand it that much. Not really interested. I just want to drink tea. You know, I don't want to do that part. So yeah, to whoever is more interested on that, as part of I think Japanese culture, and they could probably learn better from people that are doing that. And talking about culture and things, I have the book of the Tao Te Ching here in front of me, and I have read 1 through 8 of the poems, and I want to read 9 today. It's as follows. To hold and feel something, feel with an eye, like filling the cup. To hold and feel something is not as good as stopping. If you hone and sharpen something, it can be kept forever. If gold and jade fills the holes, no one can safeguard them. If you're rich with high status and are arrogant, you leave your own indictment. When your work is done and your reputation established, personal retirement is the way of nature. I guess that last part didn't leave much for wabi sabi, right? Like the beautiful decay. Okay, I think that also wabi sabi is sometimes understood as a decay, but it actually just kind of like is the way of nature, and how it's not really decay, it's just change, and how things are beautiful in the process of changing, and it's kind of how it goes. Let's see. So the first part, it says, to hold and feel something is not as good as stopping, because you feel more than necessary, so you gotta like, you know, stop feeling it at some point. So if I keep going, that's gonna like go over the rim and whatever. You fly are not invited to this. You are not. You were just, your feet were just on the poop, so don't come and stand on my stuff. So I think that's kind of how it goes, whatever that is. And then you hone and sharpen something, it can be kept forever. I usually think about this in a relationship way, in which if you have a relationship in which you keep fucking up, messing up and having to apologize and correct yourself and all of that, you know, it's just not sustainable, you know. So there's got to be a change. I'm not saying like the relationship needs to end, but it's got to be a change that is substantial, in which then the sharpening is not gonna like be so abrasive to the tool that it will get rid of the whole tool, but just like sharpening forever. You can't sharpen a knife forever, it will disappear. And if gold and jade fills the holes, no one can safeguard them. Has to do with the fact that it's kind of like what I tell my son about bragging, you know. So we have a bunch of things that are awesome that we do, and it may not really be something you want to share, because people most likely are not going to be happy for you. They're just going to like want to sabotage it, or doubt it, or call you a liar, or not believe it, or whatever, you know. So that temptation of humans to like destroy what makes other people happy is, I think, kind of like goes there. Or that if I show off to my neighbors, like trying to be pretentious of things that I own, then someone's gonna want that and feel that they have the right to break in and take it for themselves. So you can't say you can't pretend to safeguard something if you cause people's envy or desire. If you're rich and with high status and arrogant, you leave your own indictment. I guess that's covered in what I just said. And your work is done, your reputation established, personal retirement is the way of nature. You see, sometimes we, you know, we need to know when to step out of a situation, you know. And in Robert Greene's 33 laws or 48 laws of power, one of them is that, you know, absence is good, you know. So if you do a good job, then don't wait until you be around until you make a big mistake, and then everybody will be disappointed of you. You know, kind of like leave space for people to be impressed and to appreciate who you are. You know that you have a humanity that exists, and you will make mistakes, and you have a shadow, like Carl Jung says. And if everyone's like happy what you're doing, like it's time to go, dude. Like, you know, like maybe come back again. Just be careful to not trip in front of people, because at the end, you know, more than trying to like impress people, it's about just not giving them reasons to then bring you down, because it's the same thing, you know. If you're rich or if you have all these good things, then you can safeguard yourself, you know. Like people are gonna want to see your shortcomings and try to normalize it so they don't feel less. It's natural. That's not something that I want to consider bad. It's just part of human nature. I think this dude is overheating here in the sun. Are you overheating, or you're good with me? Are you good with me? Okay. So yeah, that's the Tao Te Ching translated by Thomas Cleary. I do not mind the comments of Taekwondo Soho, the Zen master that makes comments in it. Sometimes I read it, but for the most part I don't. I respect Zen Buddhism and more of the thoughts of Tibetan Buddhism. I try. I appreciate their ways. I'm not trying to claim that I practice. I know a lot of things, but I have a hard time putting them in practice. Not everything. Some things. And I wish I was better at incorporating these things in my unconscious, so that they become ingrained in who I am, and therefore passed on in evolution. Kind of like what the book "What Is Life" from Schrödinger talks about. In the section that talks about the mind and how we make things unconscious after we do it all the time. In the beginning, when we start walking, it's all this like falling and tripping until like we get such practice that we don't even think about walking. There's so many things that we can't even make conscious, right? Like the heartbeat or things like that. That are disconnected to our conscious will. So I really hope that I and everyone, right on, right? That's my quail saying right on. Hope that everyone, and including myself, can incorporate wisdom into our nature instead of trying to. And with that, I think I'll leave it. It's been like half an hour.